So Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and like your family background and something about your youth?
That's a lot. Okay, so something about myself, something about my family background, and something about my youth. All right, so background-wise, I'm from Mexico. Okay, so my family moved us up here when I was 6 years old. So I was like a little kid, but I've grown up pretty much. Yeah, I pretty much grown up and had the rest of my life here
In California.
in California, in the Bay Area, and specifically in San Jose for a large part of that. I went away to college for a little bit and to Berkeley, and then came back, and then I went to San Jose State,
Oh, wow.
and then but yeah, the Bay
So
Area.
you've been all over the Bay Area.
All over the Bay Area, but still the Bay Area. And it's been a great experience. I mean, I love and I've loved seeing how the evolution of the Bay Area, because when I came here in the 70s, this wasn't Silicon Valley. It was it was the beginning of some of those tech companies were around, and some of those tech companies from back then, like Fairchild and other ones, you probably have never heard of Fairchild, right? So, semiconductor companies, right? A lot of those are no longer around. Sun Microsystems, but they were like some of the first companies. One of the older companies that's still around, and it was probably one of the iconic Silicon Valley companies, is IBM, and they're still around. Another one is Intel, they're still around. HP is another old school Silicon Valley company, and they're still around, and they've evolved to do other things besides products like printers and computers and stuff like that, but they also have other enterprise solutions that they do. Anyway, and then so you fast forward, and there's the landscape, literally the landscape of Silicon Valley was a whole bunch of orchards that were like apple orchards or different kinds of orchards that were the properties were slowly being bought to be developed to have campuses or like business parks and stuff like that. And then these companies that were coming in and understanding how there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow technology companies here or businesses here, they started to move in and take over where the orchards were. And we almost have no orchards anymore.
Yeah, we don't, not until like a couple hours away.
We are here in Half Moon Bay, right? We have farms, but in like San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, there's pretty much all that's gone. You have to go down to Gilroy, Hollister, Salinas, and stuff like that, right? So that's the evolution of it, right?
Wow,
and now we have like these mega companies like the LinkedIn's, the Meta or Facebook, the Googles, and all these companies that are so many years down the road now are all over the place here in what is like what a lot of people call Silicon Valley, which is like mostly the South Bay. But it's gotten extended to like some people call companies that are set up in San Francisco, like they still think that that's kind of like
part of Silicon Valley.
like their version of Silicon Valley North, I guess, is companies over there like Salesforce and a whole bunch of others. So when I came here, none of that was here. And the thing that has been really cool is for me in my lifetime to see the transition or the evolution of how we were like this kind of sleepy area, had industry, had some jobs, had a lot of agriculture, and now it's all shifted to like we're like this tech hub of the world,
Yeah, that's amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
To see how everything's changed in just a number of years.
Yeah, exactly. And in my lifetime, right? So
and you've seen it all go down.
I have, and it's exciting. And then it's like the other thing that's exciting is like to see where it's going to go, because these companies they got their, they say pedal to the metal, right? Like they're going like trying to innovate, trying to see what's the latest and greatest thing that they can do with all the resources and the technology that they're evolving, and so. It'll be interesting where it goes.
Yeah.
And for me, in terms of like, my career, what I ended up doing out of college was I worked in human resources.
Interesting.
So from the very beginning, I've been involved in conversations, which like still like right now are ongoing conversations.
Which is super important.
Yeah,
Super important.
but it's like the D&I, right? And before it wasn't called D&I, diversity and inclusion. You know, but now it's like this thing that's like really on the radar of a lot of companies. And I think for me, the most important thing with that is like, okay, who's really authentic about their intentions to really do something significant and something that's going to have an impact, and who's like really just saying, okay, what do we need to do to check off the box and say that we're doing something, you know? And so I think for people like me, it's like our job to really understand who those companies are or who those collaborators are, and then really engage them in conversations so that we can have impact. Especially in the Latino community, we need those champions, right? We need those champions to be able to move initiatives forward so that our youth, our community can have access to careers that a lot of times we've been kind of, you know, not able to participate in.
Not able to access, not have the opportunity. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
that's very important. And so speaking upon that, so what you have your foundation and your company, Silicon Valley Latino, and so what inspired you to create that, and just to like what started it? Started it, and like where are you guys at now compared to where you were a couple years ago?
Yeah, for me, the inflection or the pivotal point was just being really frustrated with watching a lot of the content. On news media, on TV media, on movie media, about Latinos and how we were portrayed.
And like, what were some of those, like, how would you see them portrayed? Or like, what are some examples?
In negative, you know, roles or negative, in movie roles, they were like, we were the drug dealers. Or we were like the, you know, folks that just weren't, folks that were contributing in a positive way to society, right? Right. And I'm not saying that that doesn't exist. I mean, like in a lot of cultures, in a lot of areas, there are gangs, there's violence, there's criminal activity. I'm not saying that that doesn't exist.
But it's not necessarily the only thing.
Yeah, exactly. When they were exclusively just focusing on that all the time.
Yeah.
And then at that point in my life, I was thinking about like, my community, like the people that I specifically have chosen to surround myself with. And I have these friends that are amazing, accomplished professionals in tech or in the different work that they do in different spaces, not just technology, but throughout education or what have you, right? Yeah. And they just are doing amazing things, but their story's never told. And then so what I did is I said, I want to do something about it. I'm going to start creating platforms where we can showcase these stories. And the very first one was our website. And then the very first thing was a social media page on Facebook. And then I was just testing it out to see, I'm going to start posting positive stories about our community. And if the community reacts in a positive way, then I'll know that there's an appetite from our community to see something like this. So it's like a beta, testing it, should I even try this? Is there going to be a response? Because sometimes you think that you have a great idea, you invest time and energy and money into stuff, something like this, and then nobody comes out of it. Nobody responds in the way you want them to. They did, and so we started that part of who we became, and we've been doing it for over 11 years now. We started it back in 2011.
Oh my gosh, I was in like kindergarten.
Yeah, and part of it was this, and you talk about you being in kindergarten. Part of it was this, is that I did it for the next generation.
That's amazing.
Because I wanted the next generation to see the positive aspects of who we are as Latinos, not just all the negative stuff that happens. Right? So that's what I wanted to do, and that's what we were able to accomplish.
That's amazing, and that's so important. So tell us a little bit about like some parts of SBL that you guys have, because like we have these magazines which are amazing, and just like tell us a little bit about maybe some different like aspects of SBL and maybe your favorite part of what you guys do, or like things you've done in the past, or things you might be looking towards doing in the future.
So besides publishing content on the online magazine site and the social media platforms, we have a LinkedIn page, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Twitter. And those are predominantly like the adult focused, professional focused platforms. Mm-hmm. We're not on TikTok. I don't think we'll ever really be on TikTok or any of the other stuff that's youth focused. Mm-hmm. But that was like the beginning, the initial parts of how we started to share our content, disseminate information. Yeah. But then from that, what we ended up doing was we created this initiative called the Creo en Ti initiative, which, as you know, in Spanish means I believe in you. And then so through that initiative, what we did was create programs that would be kind of empowerment programs for the community.
That's amazing. Right?
And
I see on your shirt.
Yeah, and this is different. This is the evolution of Creo en Ti was the first one. This is Creo en Nosotros, which means I believe in us. Yeah. And then so that's the evolution of like the whole way of how we're trying to message, and how we're trying to support the community with like positive sayings, positive slogans and so forth, right? Yeah. And then the thing that, I'll go back and touch on like the specific programs within Creo en Ti. Yeah. So we started with the Inspire Hire Tour. And so with that, we would take Latino professionals, 2 women and 2 men, from the different roles or jobs within STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. Right. And then so we would bring them, and then we just basically would ask them to share their journey with high school students.
Oh, that's important. That's really amazing, because I know at a lot of the schools we don't see that, especially like I know around like the San Mateo area, San Francisco area, even here in HMB. We don't see that. We don't really get to see, well, I guess that's like why Alas is also here to like kind of show that, because in our school systems we're not really seeing that, or like examples of like Latino excellence, I guess you could say.
And that's exactly it, we wanted to showcase these folks so that our youth would know that these roles that these people had and Latinos were in them, that was a possibility for them,
yeah, that's
right?
Amazing. That's
so,
really great.
and we haven't done anything like that in a while because of COVID, but we want to do it again once we get the green light from our partners from high schools that can let us go back on campus and bring the Inspire Hire Tour to them, or community colleges. And one of the partners that we've had that has helped and has been very welcoming with this has been Santa Clara University. Oh, wow. We've done some of that at their school. And we actually did something that was like really, I think the only one of its kind, that was the way that we did it, was a summit. So it was the Creo en Ti Summit.
Oh, wow.
And
that sounds really fun.
And it was an all-day empowerment summit where we had the panel discussions, we had workshops, we had orientations. Wow. And with that one, we not only brought the students, but we brought the parents. So students and parents were able to come in to Santa Clara University and learn about the different professions, about like that there's ERGs, and I don't know if you've heard that term. Does that ring a bell? So it stands for Employee Resource Groups, and so there's different companies, or various companies, especially in here in Silicon Valley, that have these employee resource groups or affinity groups, and they're basically broken up into different interests or categories. And so we have Latino ERGs, Black ERGs, LGBTQ groups and stuff like that. So depending on what your interests or how you identify, there's probably going to be a group, a veterans group or something like that, right? And then so there's representation now. Yeah. There's a community and there's representation. And then so we had a whole bunch of Latino ERGs or Latinx ERGs that participated in that summit from different companies. And so these kids and these parents were also able to see like, wow, there's this that exists. And now if you get a job at whatever company, you know that there's going to be kind of like a support culture or support group for them there, which is important.
Yeah, that's
you know,
super
because
important.
a lot of times we don't come, our families don't necessarily have those type of jobs, tech jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's important to know that if I do accept a job and I do go into this type of company, there's going to be like this ERG that's going to be there to help.
That's amazing.
So
that's
we had,
very inspiring.
yeah, we had all kinds of activities throughout the day. We had a speed mentoring, which is basically we had people at different tables, some students, some professionals, and then they would just like ask questions and of the mentors, and then it was like a 10-minute round, so the students would be able to ask questions to the professionals, and then a buzzer would go off, and then the professionals to a different table, and then so the students got
so that they could see a lot of different stuff, right?
Yeah, within the lunch hour we did.
That's
I think it was an hour and a half of just people moving around and getting to know. And then at the end of the summit in the evening, we had an awards ceremony where, yeah, we recognized 20 Latino leaders from different backgrounds, and we recognized them for their leadership and their contributions and their impact to the community. And so that's another one of our guarantee programs. Another one that I really, really enjoyed and I look forward to bringing it back are these fireside chats. It's like a one-on-one, kind of like this, like an interview, where we just focus on one person and we just ask them to tell us their life story.
Oh, that's nice. Just to share their different life experiences.
And it's like one session for like 2 hours. And we just go deep and just ask all kinds of different questions. And then we do meet and greets right after these so that people can meet them.
That's awesome.
Not only with the fireside chats, but also with the panel, Inspire Higher panel discussions as well. So,
that's amazing. That is really inspiring, Alex. And so, can you just tell us some of your favorite parts of your job, or just like, highlights that you've had over the past couple years? And like, because you have you're very passionate about your job and like what you do, and I think that's really amazing.
Oh, there's so many different things that I enjoy doing. And the thing is that like no day is like the same as like, so there's different people that go to their jobs and they're gonna do the same thing every day. Like with me, it's like one day is completely different from the next day, and every day looks different. But everything that I do in leading the work that we do, I enjoy. Maybe not the administrative part so much. The paperwork is a little bit, it's a necessity that you need to do when you run a business. But the other parts, when I'm talking to youth like you, when we're running programs where we're engaging the reuse, that's like incredibly rewarding and fulfilling to me, because that's what we are set up to do. And one of the things that I've been, conversations that I've had with my friends lately, like these other, Latinos that have done really well in their careers, and we've chosen to give back and get involved in the community and support the next generation and so forth. One of the things that we talk about is how we want to be the resources and the support that we didn't have when we were going through the process when we were younger kids, right? When we were in high school, when we were in college, even at early stages of our professional career, we didn't have the mentor sometimes. So we wanted to be able to be those resources in terms of guidance, coaching, insight, however we can help.
Yeah, that's super important, and that's really amazing that you're doing that, because so many kids need that guidance and need that support, because sometimes the schools just aren't giving it, or maybe they're giving it but maybe not in the right way, or with a bad approach. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and it's fulfilling, and that's why I get up very excited to do the work that we do on a regular basis. The other thing that's really exciting, I think, for me at a different level, it's not so much about like giving back to the community with this other side of what we do, but 7 years ago, we started doing creative agency type work for clients. And so fast forward to this point, we are super busy with a whole bunch of projects for a lot of different clients. We have tech companies that are clients of ours, startups, small businesses, government agencies, and nonprofits. And ILAS is one of our clients.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So you guys are like expanding everywhere.
Yeah, but Yeah,
with like a
in
bunch
the
of
media.
different types of like companies or just like organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like within the digital media arts, but I think the part that's really cool for me and for a lot of my collaborators is that we're storytellers. And we try to see how do we tell stories in a compelling way, in a way that's going to engage the audiences that are there, that we're trying to reach, you know, for whatever purposes, for whatever focus that particular client or that particular organization has.
Yeah.
So we feel like we've been able to figure out how to do that very well. And that leads me to the, you know, a project that you're very familiar with because you've seen it, our documentary, Campesinos.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your documentary, the process of filming it, and maybe what inspired you to film it?
So I'll give you like from how it all, the conversation that led up to it. So I was having a meeting at the end of 2019 with one of my collaborators and friends, and just like this guy that's super talented. He's a director. His name is Joe Coney, and he's been working with me in the creative agency side since we started doing that work in I think 2015. And then so we had a conversation about how we both wanted to do something for our community and specifically for the farm workers. And we decided to do this tribute film. And so that's what the mission of the documentary was, to pay tribute to our campesinos.
Wow.
Because they've been under-recognized, underappreciated for generations. And we felt like it was time for somebody to do something at this level, and we were going to take it on, and we started it. And when we decided to do that, we had no idea that we were going to be in a pandemic a couple of months afterwards.
Gosh, right.
And we struggled once the pandemic happened with everything with you know, sheltering in place and the shutdowns and stuff like that. We couldn't get out to the farmland and to have these interviews and conversations with the farm workers because the farm owners were really, you know, trying to protect their employees from not getting it from and getting COVID from anyone. So they didn't know if we would have it and so forth. So it was a really long process and challenging process to get onto the farmland and to have conversations. But I'll tell you what shifted and what made a big impact for us in finishing the documentary was learning about Alas and meeting, you know, your mom, Dr. Bela Arriaga, and the rest of the team here, Joaquin, and the farm worker team, who basically has had established this amazing relationship with the farm owners and the farm workers, right? And then once we explained to them what we were looking to do, and they basically said, yeah, this is great, we can help you. And it ended up being one of the best things that we could have ever done through our process, meeting up with your mom and the rest of the team here at Alas, and then just being able to access farmland, farm owners, the farm workers, and then that just sped up the process in finishing up the documentary. It took us 18 months.
Oh my gosh, so that's like
a year,
a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Well, probably closer
like
to 2 years.
2 years.
Because
we
still had to edit. And,
right, which takes up a lot of time.
And
wow.
But now we finished the editing and everything by, I think it was January of this year. And then we started submitting the film to different film festivals, and it's been doing really well. We've won several awards, and we're really happy, and there's more film festivals that we're going to be participating in, and it's getting really great reviews. And one of the main things that we wanted in terms of like the reaction or the goal of this film was to have awareness of what the great work that our campesinos have been doing, right? And especially during COVID. But the other part is like, how do we inspire a conversation and awareness so that there's legislation that may happen, where there's laws that are changed so that our farm workers have more benefits, better rights, and better access to just a lot of things that they really should have access to.
Yeah, so just kind of like putting it out there and like letting everyone really see, because I know that we don't have a lot of things like your documentary out there. Like we don't really get to see like the reality of like their struggles, what they go through, and it's really just kind of like we just pick up our fruit and like vegetables and we just eat it. We don't. No one really talks about, oh, maybe how much blood, sweat, and tears is put into like picking that box of strawberries, or you know,
Absolutely.
all of those things that we just have that we take for granted.
Absolutely. And then one of the other things that I'd love to say about like the work that we do in terms of the creative agency side of the house is that I'm incredibly blessed, and I feel so privileged to work with these amazing creatives. Like I mentioned Joe, and there's Josh Sanchez, who is like an amazing creative, and Josh does so many things. He's like a videographer, photographer, musician, and just has the complete digital media arts down. He's like the guy that we go to when we have like a complex job or project, and he's able to like figure things out for clients, solutions for clients. And of course, Joe is an amazing director and cinematographer, and the film, the documentary, has gotten awards, I think, because of the storytelling. But I think the other part of the conversation that when I hear feedback from folks that have viewed it, they talk about the cinematic aspect of how he shot the film, and that is like something that, you know, you have a great story, but then you filmed it and shot it in such a great way. So we have like these amazing people, and those are just a couple of the names of. There's so many folks that I am privileged again to work with that are helping SBL do the work that we do. And now, as we know, Josh is here. He's helping us with this podcast, right? And then now they're like teaching the next generation. You know, we have Alkin behind the camera. We have Ryan behind the other camera, and we're just like here trying to pass it forward.
That's
amazing. Pay forward and then pass on the learning so that you all can start doing your own storytelling. With like all the skills and the knowledge that you need to do this kind of work. And so it's really rewarding to be able to do that for our community as well.
Thank you. That's really inspiring, Alex. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it was great being in this initial podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Let's see what the next who the next guest is going to be and what the next topic will be.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.